Hey, this is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire, and we're back. I was interviewing earlier the lovely Gia Jackson. She's an author, actress, and open-hearted coach. And she was telling us this fabulous story about how she did not take a part in the movie Vanilla Sky, and about how she had a passing in her family. So, and one of the things I was asking her was what stood in her way of wanting to be an actress. And she talked about herself. So, hi again, Gia.
Hi.
So, can you tell us a little bit about, I think you touched on a very interesting subject about standing in your own way as an actress.
Yeah, so it was really it it's really challenging when I, I we were talking about fear of failure and fear of success. And
Yes.
it's really challenging when you're raised a certain way and you're actually not even, it's very, very subtle. But you're raised a certain way, and then when you have a huge opportunity presented to you, it can be um, like most people, I actually have been told that this happens pretty frequently where people will get something that they really wanted and then they'll bail on it. Um, so it's somewhat common, I suppose. But what happens, I guess, is when you get into this opportunity of being able to do more than you believe others expect you. And it's almost like there's this invisible line in the sand or in your life or a box. And you're not expected to go past that line. And to me, just the place that I was at in my life, that was a really, really frightening thing to do. And I couldn't do it at the time. I literally fell back onto what was expected of me or what I thought was expected of me. Does that?
Wow. I've actually seen that before where individuals who gain success that they've always been seeking only to kind of like walk away from it because it's too much, it's overwhelming for them. And I guess you felt similar. Well, we lost you again. All right.
Thank you. I missed that.
I was saying that
The interview.
I have worked with people before who've gained some success in their lives, only to walk away from it because it was just so overwhelming for them.
Exactly. Yep.
So I can imagine that happening to you. But you know what I want to really ask you about this. Now,
Huh?
I know you were telling us that story, but I have to ask you this. What is an open-hearted coach? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it, you probably want to know what open-hearted is first, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, so the concept of open-hearted is it's very similar to wholehearted. Okay, and a wholehearted person is someone who is authentic and real and secure in themselves. They're not reactionary, meaning if something that they don't like happens, they handle it. If something they do like happens, they handle it also. They're just not highly reactive individuals. They live life fully and they do their best. So open-hearted is like wholehearted, but more because an open-hearted person has gone through, their level of sensitivity is it is very different from a wholehearted person. So they feel um, sensitive to their world and to their environment. And so they normally have all of these emotional impressions of their world. So, what I do as an open hearted coach is I help people decipher kind of what what their triggers are, what their emotional triggers are, and then how to make like what their impulse is to that trigger and how to make better choices. so that they can actually morph their life into something fulfilling for them.
Well, let me ask you this. When you say open, right, do you mean something that's like a person that's genuine in a way? Like,
yeah, so it's where's my so it's a person who's genuine, who's authentic, who is sincere and kind and generous, and but they have a certain amount of they're very confident. And the main basis of open-hearted is looking within. And so person is always we're self-referring, we don't defer to other people. So do you know what I mean by that?
yeah, yeah. Are you talking about just being independent, stand on their own, they have their own opinions?
Well, it's similar to that, but it's not. It's in a very like with integrity and respectfully and with compassion. So it's completely taking the other person into account, but also living completely true to yourself.
Well, let me ask you this, right? How do you stay completely true to yourself? Let's take, for example, you've had a lot of childhood trauma, you've been abused.
I'm sorry, say that again.
How do you stay true to yourself if you've had a lot of childhood trauma? Maybe you were abused as a child, or maybe you've grown up in poverty. How do you stay true to yourself when you have all that baggage?
You accept your baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you let that not allow it to dictate your actions and define who you are?
So most people, because they're aware of they're very subtly aware of this box that they've been painted in, and yet they also at the same time, most, not all, but most will try to deny that the box exists, right? And so they say things like, oh, I'm independent, I have my own thoughts, I have my own. They don't. Well, they do, but they don't know what they are yet. And so the idea is that like this world is an illusion, okay? And I say that because everything that you think, feel, do, and be comes from within you. And if you are always responding to what other people think and feel and saying, oh, well, I live in poverty, or, oh, I was abused, or, oh, I was molested, or, oh, all of these horrible, horrible, horrible things that happen in this world, but you never actually look at what is inside of you and how you actually truly feel about these things and accept your feelings, will never change.
Well, but how do you, like, for example, actors, right? They are met daily with rejection. You're too tall, you're too fat, you're too white, you're too black, you're too, you have a Southern accent, so all those rejections that keep hitting them and bombarding them on a daily basis, and it takes a toll on them. You know what I mean? Especially if they're not getting roles. So what would you suggest to them? How do they deal with that?
Have a very strong understanding of who you, and have something else that is creative that you can focus and channel your excess energy. So for me, it's writing. Because you're not going to get every single part that you go out for. I think it's like every one in like 29 or 30 auditions you do, you're going to get a part. If you happen to be more fit a certain look or a certain appearance, maybe you'll get luckier. Or if you really understand how to work the business. But it's all coming from within, right? So it's not like rejection is just, it's really not personal. It's just, you don't fit the part. It's not right. Fucking move on, right? and find something else to focus your energy on. So if you love to dance, dance. If you like to, act, and you don't have something that you're being paid to do on a consistent basis, then, join a theater group. Like, find ways to channel that energy so that when you go into the audition, you really don't, pardon my French, but you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Fit in with the group. You have to be what the director and the producer and the casting agent, you have to be all those things that they want to see and fit into the project. And I mean, there's like 5 different components that you have to fit into, right? But then, so you're probably not always going to fit in. So why care so much about whether you fit in? Why not just try to, put your best foot forward, do your best. And then when you do your best, then you don't have to live with regret. You don't have to be like me and be like, oh my God, why did I do this so many years ago? Blah, blah, blah,
But like, what do you say to actors? And this is typical. What would you say to actors? And this is typical of actors who kind of put like all their eggs in one basket. They're like, if I don't make it in this business, I'll die. There's nothing else I want to do with my life,
I don't know. Jump off the cliff. Everybody lives their life different. I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life. I'm just offering suggestions.
No, what I'm saying is, do you think that's healthy for them to have that type of attitude, though?
Well, so I don't think it's helpful. Okay. And so you want to have a steady stream of income. So you should have something that is bringing a steady stream of income in, because you're not going to get that from acting for, a number of years, most likely. Okay. I think it takes like 10 years before any, of the really well-known actors actually are well-known, right? So they have this whole life before anyone is aware that they,
right.
exist. Right. So you have to have numerous streams of income. My agent said it well to me. It's like, you want to have at least 3 income. So, I sell life insurance on the side.
Oh, okay. In case you jump off a building or something.
For 12 years, exactly. I enjoy it. Find other things that you enjoy, and if they can help pay your bills, all the better.
So you know what, so you've written 3 books, right? And do you use that as an outlet? Is that therapeutic for you? Like, which do you love more, acting or just writing?
I don't know. It depends on what day it is.
Okay. So, tell us about Open-Hearted, Betrayal, and From Half to Whole. Tell us about that.
So the Open-Hearted Betrayal is the story of my life from age 2 through about 40. And I tell it in, I tell it in a very active voice, and try to keep it pretty entertaining. And it's really, so it's about my journey and what took me up to. So I believe I was born open-hearted, but I actually shut my heart closed at a certain point when I was about 2 years old because of some very traumatic things that happened to me. And it was just a series of traumatic events. And it was just like, I was very sensitive and I didn't know how to handle my life. And then From Half to Whole is from when it's about age 40, 41. And that is the journey that I took to actually open my heart, heal myself, purify my heart. And it talks a lot about meditation and spirituality. And I spend a lot of time balancing my chakras do that daily. About just the experiences I went through. I don't know how detailed you want to get into it, or if you want to, you know, I have a very nice summary, but.
Well, tell me this. It's, you know, so your mother was Catholic, your father was Jewish, right? And were they religious or were they atheists?
So they were both atheists.
Mm.
And was always spiritual. It was just I had a very bizarre childhood. Like my father would say, like, you know, incredibly intelligent man, and he understood how the world worked, which was wonderful. But then when things didn't happen how he wanted them to happen, he would say the craziest thing. Like he would say, women are crazy, money is shit, the world is crazy. And it was just like, I heard these things so just go through my head, you know, for as long as I can remember with him. And it really affected me. And it was tough because I was the oldest child. And it was like, I would actually kind of question him when he said these things, and he did not like that. And so he just always had his eye on me. And so I lost my train of thought.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? It's an important question.
Atheists. Sorry.
Huh?
What's that? I was going to say,
go ahead.
You're going into the religion thing. So they were both atheists, and I felt like I just had like no love in my life.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. And so, and so I was always asking my parents, like, and it was just really.
Whoops, I think you froze again.
Because and just all of these things. And so it was this really just bizarre childhood of, you know, my parents were nudists, and like, it's just like all of these really strange, like, you know, they'd be like, oh, it's just a body, everybody has one. And I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to be walking around naked. And so it was like I was born with this completely different sensibility from my parents. And I mean, like, I don't even know how you get that when you're not even exposed to other parts of society, because we were in a very isolated area for probably the first few years of my life. But anyway, so I found out about Jesus, I found out about religion, and I was like, that's what I need. I want to go to church. Tell me about God. Tell me about Jesus. And my parents were just like, what?
Oh, yeah, that must have been a
shock.
Hell no. Yeah, it must have been a shock to them.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So it was very interesting. Finally, when I was about 12 years old, they let me, and my grandparents, my father's parents, agreed to take me to synagogue every Tuesday night. I went to Jewish school for like 3 years. And yeah, so I've had like this I also went to Episcopalian church youth groups, and I've been to India, and I've just, I don't know, I enjoy going to churches and stuff, although I don't really perceive God in the same way, but that's something else.
So you're spiritual, you don't follow a specific religion. Is that what it is?
Exactly.
Okay. We've actually lost your picture. So we get in the audio.
You lost my picture?
Yeah, you've been talking and your picture's gone, but we have your audio.
Oh no.
And I was hoping it would come back, but it hasn't come back.
That's so weird, because I can see you.
Oh.
I can see you. You can't see me?
No, you've been gone for about like 3 minutes now.
No.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a bandwidth connection that it doesn't allow. Like, I guess it could be something dealing with that.
You know what? Let me just try one thing on my phone.
Sure.
And then I apologize. I'm like really not very tech savvy. It's really a good thing I write. bad joke. Oh.
Wow, you're back.
The wonders of changing Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. All right, great. So you were talking about your spiritual,
Uh-huh.
and that kind of like, how did you find the spirituality that was on your own?
Yeah, I've studied astrology since I was 14, and my spirituality is like kind of I call it a tapestry of multiple aspects of life. So I discovered, how I perceive God, or just the energy that surrounds us and that is a part of us. And that was through meditation and being mindful, balancing my chakras, doing that.
How do you do you do subconscious programming? How do you do that? Is that through meditation or?
No, so subconscious reprogramming is actually when you understand what your emotional triggers are, and then you go out into the world and you seek to understand them more. Okay. And a person can heal them that way.
If say, for example, you're in a relationship and that person is hitting your triggers, how do you deal with that? This person happens to hit your triggers a lot.
So the first thing to understand with any relationship is you attract what you are. So everything that exists outside, right, exists inside of you. And what you perceive is what exists inside of you. So, and it's often latent, meaning what you repress is normally what your partner is going to express.
Okay.
And yeah, and you can see it in all different types of relationship. So like with romantic relationships, if you have where the woman is like, you can see it with like not power dynamics, but with the type of man who, like a powerful woman who is not trained to be that, will seek a powerful man because that is what she feels comfortable with, because that's what exists inside of her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But also, if she has esteem issues, she's going to, and we all want to deny that we have those esteem issues, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't have them, right?
Right, yeah.
And so if you have esteem issues, you're going to attract a partner who brings that out, like you're going to recognize that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. So it can be very therapeutic in a way, though, right?
It is, yeah. And so it's actually, like I would just encourage everyone that, the next time you feel deeply upset by something that your partner does or something that anyone does or says, instead of saying, oh, this person is that, like this person's a jerk, this person's stupid, they're foolish, they're whatever. Well, what about me do I not like? Like, in what ways am I foolish? In what ways am I stupid? In what ways am I arrogant? Whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And then seek to find peace with that or accept that. And then look at that person and see if how they look has changed.
What do you say to those people who keep attracting the same people in their lives? Like people who like for women who may be with abusive men, or men who may be with uncaring women, or women who aren't maybe, I don't know, good with children and things of that nature.
So you want to heal that within you. So um, if you attract crazy people, people are just, nutty. Like, I think Joe is great. And then all of a sudden, this person I'm attracted to turns into a nut. And this sort of thing keeps happening. Like, so, maybe you dump Joe, or that doesn't work out, and then you move on. But the next one is crazy in another way. So these are all aspects within us that we have to heal. Like, we have to actually be okay with our own insanity in order to stop attracting that to us.
That's deep. Wow, that's deep. Yeah.
So
that's scary. That means facing yourself,
Yeah, about that.
I wanted to ask you about how can I have what you have, and who are you?
Oh, yeah. So sometimes when I am feeling especially open-hearted, and I must admit that oftentimes, at least more recently, just because of a more rigorous writing schedule and stuff, I'm not out as much as I used to be. But I am very frequently approached by people, perfect strangers, and they will just start talking to me, and I've actually had them say, how are you so happy? How I saw you, and I just had to ask, how can I have what you have? And so I'll often, when I'm out, often in the city, and I'm close to San Francisco, and I have a lot of friends out there, so I'll go meet with them sometimes, or I'll just go hang out by myself, and I end up having these wonderful conversations. And a lot of them, a lot of that started because I wanted to heal my subconscious programs, and kind of recreate my life. And so, yeah, that was a pretty cool result, was people actually, it just would turn into these really intense, anywhere from 15-minute to like 3-hour conversations of just talking about open-hearted things.
You have good energy, and they can sense that,
Thank you.
Can we briefly, because it's a lot, and I know, talk about the 8 phases: the closed heart, open heart, healing heart, expanding heart, purifier, fully open-hearted, open-hearted warrior, the conscious creator. Can we talk about some of those? I particularly like the open-hearted warrior, but that's just me.
Oh, cool. I love the open-hearted warrior. So what do you want me to do? I always mix, like, I know the phases, of course, but
yeah, just touch on what the phases, what are the phases used for? Like, what is it used for exactly?
So the whole idea is that when you go on, so there's an open-hearted journey, and that is when you can really hear your heart speaking to you and saying, you should have seen that acting gig through. Mm-hmm. And then you got that regret, or you hear this voice saying, go do this, go meet Joe for coffee, or go, but you don't do it. Well, when you start listening to that voice and you start doing what it says, that is taking the open-hearted journey. That's like your step, right? And so okay, here I am. So the phases of the open heart, or the phases of open-heartedness, there are 8 of them. And the first phase is really when your heart is closed or wounded, and this happens from an emotional trauma. And it's really when a person is very fearful, and they have a lot of trouble looking within, because when they look within, they don't like what they see. Mm-hmm. And so you get a lot of people who have drug or alcohol issues, dependency issues. It could be food, it could whatever. They're trying to heal. They're trying to, they essentially have a hole in their heart, or their heart is broken or wounded, and they're trying to fill it with all of these things that they can't, that will never heal it. Okay. And so that's closed. That's a closed heart. But the thing is that as your heart is naturally, and it always wants to be open. So it will always try to open. And when it opens, it pulls things to it. And when it's closed, it's also pulling things to it. But those things are perceived in very harmful ways, okay? As they are perceived as harmful or negative. But when the heart opens, it pulls more positive or helpful things that will be perceived to be more helpful. And that lets them they start to feel a tiny bit better, and they are willing to change at that point. Okay. And then they start drawing better feeling events, because what rules our life? Our heart rules our life. Okay. It's not your brain. It's not money. It's your heart. Okay. And then the third phase is healing. And that's when you all of this good. So it's usually falling in love with somebody, but it could be a wonderful event, or it could be doing something creative. But so your heart starts to heal through positive experiences, okay? And through finding and feeling the beauty in life. Okay. And then what often happens is that something will happen, because this is life, right? Something will happen that we perceive to be bad or harmful. Like we fall in love and then the person breaks up with us and we're heartbroken, right? Mm-hmm. Or somebody dies, or, something horrible happens. Okay. So what most people will do is they will go right back they will shut their heart and go, oh my God, this fucking sucks. Get me the fuck out of here. And they shut their heart again. Okay. So if you're open-hearted, you keep your heart open and you process that pain. And instead of shutting your heart to what you feel, you actually allow it to process, because that bad event is actually your heart being tested for its strength. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like you heal something, and then you gotta how when you sew a jacket, like if you have a tear in a jacket, you might sew it, mm-hmm. and then you pull at the jacket to make sure that you got you sewed it back right. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Probably not. Okay. So that's what the negative event is. It's just a test of your heart. Can you keep your heart open when something that you don't like happens? Because shit's going to happen in this life and you have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. If you don't deal with it, that's fine too, but you're going to live with a closed heart and you're always going to be scared as fuck. Pardon my French. And so if you can make it through that phase with that bad or negative energy, your heart will continue to expand. And as it expands, it exposes other weaknesses that need to be healed. They're normally not anything near the horrible event that occurred. Okay. And the whole concept is you accept your feelings about whatever it is that's in front of you, and then just release it. Accept, heal, release. It's really simple, like insanely simple. It makes no sense. It's so simple. Okay. And so the next one is purifier. And that's actually the accept, heal, release is the purifier. So that's just where your heart expands. It starts attracting more people and more events to you for you to handle, not handle, but just accept, heal, and release. In all of this, you're purifying your emotions. So essentially, any negative energy that you've been holding on to within you gets released because you're accepting it. And yes, the events on the outside are occurring, but it's ultimately how you feel on the inside, because everything, you only perceive the world based on how you feel. And if you want to feel better and you want to have a better life, then you have to change, not change, but heal what exists within you. Mm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm. Okay, cool. Okay, the next is fully open-hearted, and what that means is the heart is pure, and you're living in integrity with who you are. So you're no longer triggered by, like a wholehearted person, you're not triggered by, you know, Joe Schmo looked at me the wrong way and fuck him. That does not even exist anymore. It's just, this is my world. This is my life. I accept full responsibility for everything that happens. And oh, by the way, I can actually almost create what I want. You can. And there are numerous ways to do that. And you do that through being fully open-hearted. And you start discovering your life purpose, and events will just start occurring, like kind of like what we were talking about, where, you know, my friend John was like, hey, let me take some pictures of you. And all of a sudden I'm acting again. I'm like, what? You know, it's just, it's a really wonderful, magical thing. And I can't tell you how many things that occur, events that occur now that are just, they're beautiful, and I'm so grateful for them. Whereas before, I didn't normally feel that way. Mm. And then the next is open-hearted warrior. And that is, it's a protective aspect of being open-hearted. And so one of my editors for my book was reading this, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because it's really powerful. And one time I was in San Francisco. It was Sunday evening. I had parked like a block away from my friend's house. I was going to put my purse in my trunk, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed these two women walking towards me. They weren't just like, at first they looked like they were casually walking towards me, and then I realized they were like coming at me. Mm. And I was startled, and it was like, Ron, it was insane. Mm. This, like, I just knew exactly how to handle them. These women grabbed for my purse. Yes, I was a moron. I had a like 1,300 Louis Vuitton bag on my arm.
Wow.
That's what I was going to put in the trunk of my car. And they said, I'll take that. And I was just like, I don't really feel like you taking my purse. And it wasn't like an ego thing or anything like that. It was just like, I had this energy just telling me what to do. And it was like, move your arm. I moved my arm. They grabbed for my bag literally like a split second after that. I moved my arm back, and then this voice said, scream. I screamed so loud. They looked at me and they ran away. Like, and so, and it was like, the whole thing happened so fast, and it was crazy because, you know, there was a car about a block away, and I saw them sitting there watching this occur. They didn't step in. They didn't try and help me. They didn't do anything. Nobody came to my rescue, but I was able to handle it.
Wow.
And yeah. And so that is an open-hearted warrior. We just fucking handle shit. And we're not trying to cause any problems with people or anything like that, but you just handle it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you don't try and create issues with people or anything like that, but you just know that when you need protection, that energy is there for you.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. And then the last phase is the conscious creator. And a conscious creator is, it's a change agent. So when you think of Gandhi or Martin Luther King, Jesus, these are extraordinarily powerful people who have essentially mastered all the forces, and they may not necessarily call them forces, but they just exist on this plane, like kind of the apex of humanity, and they're able to actually, like they have such a life calling and such a purpose that they're able to kind of shape the consciousness of humanity and affect them positively. Yeah. And yeah, so those are the 8 phases.
You know, I really love that. And it speaks to a lot, because I used to study, like, I was very much into Egyptology, and I studied the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, who talked about having an open heart and things like that. So a lot of what you're seeing there
awesome.
really, like, it resonates with me, you know? But I want to
That's so cool.
yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me. Hey, I want to invite you back again, because I would love to have a further discussion with you on these different phases, but would love to have some actors as well, to where you could speak to them and talk to them about, you know, doing some transformations and things like that. I think that would be very helpful if you're game for something like that.
Okay. Let's do it.
Cool, cool. So where can we reach you? I think your website is openhearted4life.com.
Yep. So it's openheartedforlife.com. I'm on Instagram at so it's the @ symbol and then openhearted_life. And if you want my more spiritual thoughts, then you go to at openhearted_creator. The open-hearted life is more of a just my daily life, tons of selfies, like probably far too many selfies. And just lots of fun shots. Like, you know, if I'm doing an acting gig, I normally post it on the open-hearted life versus open-hearted creator. That's got a lot more of the, you know, the open-hearted journey stuff on there. And I'm also Gia J at openheartedforlife.com is my email.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. And again, let's talk about, like, having you back on and having some actors, and we can do a panel discussion about life and just how to deal with this crazy world, you know, and crazy.
How exciting. I'd love to.
Yeah. Awesome. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And this has been Ron K. Armstrong with Gia Jackson, author, actress, open-hearted coach. And until next time, I will see you. Thank you, Gia.
Thank you, Ron.